Howdy, soldiers. It's finally hot and sunny outside, and I, like any good Vancouverite, who has been educated about the seasons from a young age and is completely expecting this new seasonal turnover, and doing the one thing that I do best, and that is bitch about it. It's so damn hot that I gave up on my hair halfway through, but I think it's like kind of cute, you know? It's an experimental day today. I haven't done any kind of wrap-up or reading video since like February, and I feel kind of bad about that, and there were just so many things to talk about because this spring had a bountiful harvest, and it was a roller coaster of emotions all the way through, and I have some big hits, some big misses, and then a couple that I'm like, about, you know, it's a mood. So let's just do a good old spring wrap-up, grab some water, because it's bloody hot outside, grab a snack, it isn't me, and let's get into it. We're obviously gonna start off with the hits, because we want to get those out of the way first. Screw saving the best for last. Obviously, I have Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan, because all y'all knew that this was gonna be on my radar. This is like if Leigh Bardugo and H.P. Lovecraft had a Lovecraftian love child. It was bloody as all hell, and I loved it despite the fact having to, you know, do some soul searching and ask myself why I enjoyed it so much. You get to go through different kinds of religious orders, how they feel about magic. One character is hunting them down, one character is somewhat magical, and then we have whatever the hell the third character is. He's just weird and creepy and not human, and he's great. Like 10 out of 10 would swipe right on Tinder if I saw him on there because, you know, he knows how to get bloodstains out of clothing, and that is an aspect that I look for in a man. Not to mention the fact that he has the most amazing flat that you could ever hope for. It's like a dark black marble church, and like, if he's there, that's great. If not, I'll just, you know, wander around his home by myself. That's not a creepy thing to say at all, but you know what? It goes with the theme. It's fine. But just know that this book is very full of triggers surrounding blood and self-harm, even in a fantasy element, so like, be prepared if you're not okay with that. And obviously to go along with that one, I have to talk about The Devouring Grey by Christy Lynn Herman because they're friends on Twitter, and I love them both, and I follow them both on Twitter, and they're both really cool. This is for fans of Maggie Stiefvater or Stranger Things. It is a ragtag group of people in a small town that has magic. Gotta love me some mystical small town murders. Like, I would move there in a heartbeat if I could. Unfortunately, I'm not magical, which would make the whole situation a little less fun. Oh wow, there's a new girl, and she's coming back to the town that her mother used to live in, and ooh, there's a curse on it, and ooh, magical people, and oh hey, one of them's really hot. One character doesn't have an arm, one character has PTSD, one character could bring people back from the dead, and like, yo, smash. I had a bit of an on and off relationship with the character development because I felt like some characters developed more than others, but I think that she got the tone right of that like small town secret kind of vibe, so perfect for not summer, perfect for fall. Maybe this will be in my next Halloween reads video. Fantasy, let's get some more fantasy. We're gonna talk about We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Fayazel. As a debut novel, this knocked my freaking socks off. We had a Middle Eastern Arabian folklore fantasy feminist novel, and wow is all I can say about this book. The main character is bad the fuck ass, and I absolutely adore her character development and the tension that Hafsa can write because, oh my gosh, this book is like a lesson in how to write tension. I love me some good fire beings, some djinn, some ifrits, some like fire demons, and having this really interesting idea of the desert versus like the forest versus magic versus politics. Everything just went together so well, and I was not expecting it to be that good. So I would say, like, I want to light it on fire, but that's bad. So like, I want to light it in the smokeless ginny fire. You got me? I mean, probably not, because that was a really weird analogy, but it's good, is what I'm trying to say. Another beautiful Middle Eastern fantasy feminist novel that I got to read is The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad, who I met and read the event for, and is also one of my book blogger friends from Vancouver, and I got my book signed, and aren't you all just so jealous? I was so impressed with the maturity of the writing. There's just a good gap between older YA and new adult, I think. So the main character starts off human and then gets a little less human, and that was what I really loved about it because we get both of those sides. So you're like really on her side, but you get what she's going through. Then you get fun magic stuff and like a really hot guy that's like totally there for it, and he was great. I love me some soft, sensitive, understanding male characters. Like, we need more of those. And he was still a badass guy, but he was still willing to be vulnerable and say that he loved something and care about something, and that is realistic, and that I appreciate. You know how I said for the last one that I would throw it in smokeless gin fire? Yeah, this one too. They together, just right on the funeral pyre, but they wouldn't burn because they're both fire demons and fire spirits. I'm getting ahead of myself with this metaphor. Now this next one, while matching me very nicely, was one that I went a little up and down on. You know, just some of it was good, some of it was weird, and that is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. Why was that so hard to say? Enchantment of Ravens took me a couple tries to get into, and I did end up liking it. I did really like this book because we get sentient libraries with dark magic grimoires that will talk to people, and I mean, yeah, please. If I could turn my own library into that, 10 out of 10 would do. I loved how the main character came into herself. I loved the world. I loved the grimoires and the politics behind it, and all the library scenes were just, ooh, it was so good, let me tell you. The reason I'm waffling is because it got really dark and intense, and I was like, yes, on board. Like, I am at the front of the ship for this. But then it would kind of get weird, or like it would lag a little bit, and then it would get really intense again, really dark, so like I wasn't quite sure the vibe she was going for. Like, I got it, but then for some reason it just kind of waffled. I think overall I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars because of that, but if it hadn't slowed down in those points, this would have been one of my new favorite books. So if you liked her first one, or you like the idea of dark, sentient grimoire libraries, pick this the hell up. Now for just some straight up fantasy. I have to include this because I did read this in spring. I'm sorry, this is a very long wrap up. So the one that I was most impressed with is also the one that not everybody should read, and it put me in a very interesting mood for multiple days after finishing it, and that is because I read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Okay, so look, this is about a girl who is a peasant, and she studies really hard for this big exam, and she gets in and she goes to this fantastic school for training soldiers, and then she starts training in this weird like magic-y thing, and you're like, ooh, magic and like old gods and stuff, and then there's like big training montages and you're like, all right, it's cool. I really enjoyed all of it. Love one of the teachers that she has, he's so great. But there is a part near the end, as we're getting more and more into the war, where the author creates a parallel to a very bloody time in Chinese history with the rape of Nanking, and reading that, even in a fantasy setting, she did not hold back, and it fucked me up. But that is also something that actually happened in history. This is not something that the author is saying, oh, I just want to make something bloody and shocking. Like, to know that that, even if it was inspired by it, that actually took place is really gives me the weird feelings. So I can't say this was a beautiful read, but I can say that it was extremely well constructed, and the development of everything really puts into perspective war and death and how people deal with revenge. So very thought-provoking and very bloody. So if you're into that, I would recommend this though, because I can't believe I waited so long to read it. On a little less of a serious topic, let's talk about a fantastic book that is now up in the rankings of some of my absolute favorites, and that is The Rune of Kings by Jen Lyons. This is like if the Lies of Locke Lamora and Name of the Wind not had a love child, because that's a little weird, but like if they both raised a younger brother. That's what this book would be. We have a weird political climate in a slightly fantasy world where the main character is, surprise, surprise, a street rat who turns out to be the lost heir of this one thing, and they're coming into power, and it's bad, it's good, and oh my god, we have to fool a bunch of people, and then magic. This book has footnotes, and I love footnotes because it just adds so much to the story without having to info dump. The main character being brought up on the streets and as a thief gives him a really cool edge, especially near the end. Also, the magic of this world is super weird, but you know what? Like, I'm here for it. Alright, it is now time to talk about The Misses, which is, okay, there's only a couple. The first of which being You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leto. I was expecting this to be another one of those like small town magic realism books, and it sort of was, but just like really badly. Poorly planned version of something between Narnia and A Wrinkle in Time. I know the main character is supposed to be, you know, an antagonist, and she's supposed to be bad, but you're supposed to still root for her, and there was nothing that redeemed her for me at all, even though I knew she was supposed to be bad. I was just like, alright, like, you need to get your life together, not like, oh man, but like I see through your tough exterior. It was just, it didn't do it for me. Another miss that I was really disappointed about was The Dreamers by Karen Walker. This book wasn't terrible. I actually did enjoy myself reading it because it was a really cool concept, and that is that there is a virus that makes you fall asleep, and it is very easily spreadable, and so there's a small town that has now been put in quarantine, and everybody's slowly falling asleep. What a cool concept. I love that, like, slightly end of the world magic realism type thing, and this was gonna be it. However, it was really the characters that ended it for me. I was never super invested in anybody, and then this whole like, oh, it just kind of goes away at the end was just like, I felt a really poor wrap-up, so unfortunately this one was not for me. And lastly is one that I'm gonna get so much hate for, and I'm sorry if you liked this book, and that is The Descendant of the Crane by Joan He. Look, I'll say that the writing was good, and it was, and she went into politics really well, and I liked the two sisters kind of being pitted against each other, especially the younger sister, but something about it just didn't grab me, like especially the ending with all of the, no spoilers, people being brought together and, you know, being hunted. I was just kind of like, like I don't know what it was, but something just didn't line up properly for me while I was reading this. Alright, now for some ones that just didn't really land on either side, you know, some meh. The first book that I was meh about is probably one that all of you will be shocked out of your pants for. What? Who says that? Because it is one of my favorite authors, and that is The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab. As much as I love her to bits, I could definitely tell this was her first novel, just from the way that it was written, and you know what? I'm really happy for her. I'm glad that this got published, and I did like it. It gave me a very, like, old fairy tale meets Maggie Stiefvater kind of vibe. But I didn't really care, but I needed the characters, and I did feel a lot like I was being led through the story. Another huge author that I love that I was meh about was The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Tu. Okay, this book was pretty fun. It was about Magnus and Alec, and when they go to France, I believe in the fourth book of The Mortal Instruments, where even is it? Oh, it's over there. So having their perspective of like adventures in Europe, and then, oh, there's suddenly a demon called Magnus, what did you do 200 years ago? It was pretty funny. I did like their banter, and I did actually fall back in love with Magnus and Alec, but at the same time I wasn't like blown away by anything in this book. So it was fun. Glad I got the advance copy because I don't know if I would have bought it myself. This next one I'm saying was a meh because it's just so weird. So if you like weird literature, you might like this, and that is The Ticking Heart by Andrew Kaufman. A couple weeks ago I went to a local book blogger and bookseller event for some Vancouver and Toronto smaller publishers, and this was one of the ones I got because this is a magic realism type book about a guy who gets transported to this other place where everything is a metaphor and he's just going through his own issues, and the only way to get out of this place is to have an epiphany. So he's traveling through this land trying to find his purpose and get an epiphany while like talking about his ex-girlfriend who ripped his heart out of his chest, and now there's a bomb there and he's gonna die in 24 hours, but time doesn't work the same way, and the ex-girlfriend is weird and she has to go get this other thing, and he locks his heart up and this other guy's a tree. Again, I did like it. It was just very odd, which is why I'm giving it a meh. Like, it could have been amazing, but it wasn't. That's all I have to say about that. And lastly on the mess is a book that I'm on the fence about still. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it okay? I don't know. And that is Aurora Rising by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I even ran the event for this and got it signed. God bless, what an experience. We got a sci-fi mystery action adventure novel with a found family of various types of people who are all snarky, with a girl who's out of time and one guy that looks like an elf and another guy who has an exosuit and then a psychopath and looks like badass chick. But the pacing of this novel really threw me off. I felt it went like this the whole time, which is why I'm giving it a meh. And some characters were developed a lot more than others, which I think was on purpose but didn't quite work for me all the way. And the ending was just weird. Like, of all the endings that you could have written, you wrote that one. Like, why? I'm obviously gonna read the sequel, but it just is not high on the list of Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff books. So there you go! I am now unreasonably sweaty from talking about all my hits, misses, and messes of spring. Thank you all for watching. I really need to go get some cold water or maybe a carbonated beverage. I don't know. Please leave down below if you also read some of these, because I know some of them are very high on my anticipated reads list. This spring had such a strong lineup that if you have varying opinions for me, I may fight you on some of them, just be warned. I've just been steadily adding things to Goodreads like all week, so if I did miss something really good, let me know down below. It's going on the list. Whether it's going to go on the shelf is a whole other issue though. You know where to click to like the video, you know where to click to subscribe, there's a notification bell down there if you feel so inclined. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!